Well, we have our Super Bowl matchup. Um, I don't
The
think it's the
script
one we
is written.
wanted. The script is yeah. Script writers are just started working on the Super Bowl script. Uh, I think the script we all wanted was who Chiefs and maybe Chiefs and Lions. I think that's the script we all wanted.
Yeah.
Uh, Poor Lions. Oh
Yeah.
man. When that first half, I'm like, I don't want to jinx this, but I think it's happening. And then,
I know. I know.
yeah, just
I, it was heart wrenching. It's like you look at that franchise. They've never been to a Super Bowl. 66 years since their last title,
Yeah.
and most of those fans legitimately had never seen it. You had to go back to that gentleman. It was like in his 80s, who was the season ticket holder, and that's how far you got to go back. So, yeah, I mean, heartbreak city, and it's weird because the Lions are always kind of like, I don't know, maybe you get a Bears fan on here, Joe, or a Packers fan. Maybe they hate the Lions, but like I think everybody was pretty much rooting for him because everybody has some other reason to hate the 49ers for this, that, or the other. Maybe it's you didn't like them in the 80s. Maybe it's the whole kneeling thing. Maybe it's a political thing. Maybe it's you're a Cowboys fan, so you hate them. Maybe you're whatever. There's
Maybe they're
different.
getting too close to how many
Yep.
Super Bowls the Steelers have.
uh-huh.
Right.
That's I want
Good
them to
one.
lose.
Good one. But no, I think outside of San Francisco or California, everybody, or Youngstown, Ohio, was rooting for
Right.
the Lions. And I just, again, Joe, I'm sure you were going with this. I don't understand the field goal calls. I know that's how they got there. I know that's the way they got there. You don't want to get too far away from what got you there. But all that stuff we just said, you got to realize, and I don't think Dan Campbell realized the enormity of that. All that stuff was on the line. All you had to do was kick the field goal. And there's no guarantee that he
Yeah.
makes it. I get that. But the higher probability was kick the field goal. If they would have kicked both, they won the game. If they would have kicked one, we're going to overtime. I
Yeah.
just I love Dan Campbell too, and it's hard to be mad at the guy. He is a
Yeah. I
Exactly.
like him a
likable,
lot.
Exactly.
likable guy. He's a likable guy, but it's like, oh no, kick the field goal, and
I
yeah,
struggle with the logic when you're up by so much. Do you know what I mean? When you're up by so much and then you're going to make that very aggressive play call, I struggle with the logic. Like, I could understand if the game were close, if they felt like the 49ers were catching them. Do you know what I mean? If any of those things would happen. But I kept saying they're not playing the teams that they were playing during the regular season. Like, this is not the same caliber of team that you were going against. The 49ers have a really good defense, and you can't take this lightly. Do you know what I mean? So if you're going to look at probability and statistics and all of those things for the likelihood of making this fourth down conversion, you have to also consider your opponent and who you're going with. You know what I mean? This is not the Chicago Bears or some other,
the
low
Bengals.
grade Minnesota Vikings
And
or
this isn't
somebody.
week 6.
Right,
This is the
right. This is the
conference
playoffs.
championship to go, and
Right.
not even just a playoffs, the conference championship to go to the Super Bowl. You
Yeah.
gotta reconsider
You
things.
don't leave points.
Yeah, and to your
So
point, LeeAnn, it's not only like who you're playing; it's how they're playing at that time. You hadn't
Yes.
stopped them at all. You hadn't stopped them. They were going down. They were going to go down and try and score again. So it's not like your defense was playing like the 76 Steelers
Right.
or the 02 Ravens or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I just
Because that's
just
why I said I could sort of understand the first one. Like the 49ers were struggling at that point to stop them. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't have done it. I would have preferred my team kick the field goal when you're up by that much. But at least, like in that logic, I could be like, okay, they hadn't really been able to stop him yet. He'd gone for it on fourth down before. So maybe it makes sense. But when, the game has gotten close, I don't know what you're thinking.
yeah, yeah, he just blew it. But really, it's on the players. The players
Yeah.
just the receiver stopped receiving. The running backs fumbled. They choked. They got caught up in the moment and they choked. And that's why people like Mahomes are who excel in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's just it's just a whole other level when you are in the playoffs as opposed to the regular season. And it's so impressive when you could rise up to the occasion.
Yeah.
And you know who else didn't rise up to the occasion? Lamar Jackson. He basically lost the game for them. Yes,
Yeah.
that dude fumbled, and yes, stuff happened, but Lamar
He's
Jackson
got
did not.
playoff issues.
Yeah,
Yeah, the only thing else too is, usually week to week we're talking about the Steelers on this. We talked about a few times what they got to do next year. One common denominator that I saw all weekend was all of those teams had very, very good offensive lines. And the one
Mhm.
offensive line that
Mhm.
really crapped the bed was the Ravens. So,
Yeah.
I agree with both of you on the Lamar Jackson, but he was running for his life most of that game. I
He
mean, they were
was.
blitzing the hell out of him, and
Yeah.
he was, I mean, that offensive line collapsed, and that just again, it's like Joe. We said it last week. Coming up in April here, the tackle or the guard or the center, we always know it's not the sexy pick. Let me tell you, if they got Alt from Notre Dame, I would be just like Jason Kelsey and running out in the yard with my shirt off. I mean, give me that big tackle. Give me that
Yeah.
center that we can lock up for the next 10 to 12 years. And you saw that happen. The Lions were destroying that 49ers front line almost the entire game until about the third quarter. San Francisco, likewise, offensive line just absolutely took over in the second half. And then, of course, the Chiefs' offensive line, although penalties were
Yeah.
drawn and whatnot, they still took care of that Ravens defense very well.
It felt like the Ravens went away from what had kind of gotten them there to begin with. It felt like they had shifted this year, this focus from like, everything is Lamar. Lamar is running. Lamar is this. Lamar is everything. That's our offense. It felt like they really did make that effort this year to shift towards having more of a passing game, having more of a balanced offense. And I don't know if they got anxious because they were down or the game plan changed because of what they thought that Kansas City was going to do, but it felt like they got away from what had worked for them all year, and they were back to like the old Ravens of putting everything on Lamar's shoulders. And he's got receivers;
But
they needed to use them.
there were times when Lamar could have run. I mean,
Oh
look at
yeah,
what helped the 49ers in their
oh
second half
yeah,
is Brock Purdy just started running like crazy,
right,
and
crazy.
they didn't have an answer for that.
And
Lamar
Yeah,
like almost refused to run. Like, bro, you're the best runner there is. If that's what it takes to win, that's what you do. Run, 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 man. Even
right, he ran
Tony
once
Romo
in the
said that.
but then
late in
other
the
times he's doing mad stuff like throwing the ball to. I mean, like all the crazy stuff that he does. Do you know what I mean? And then the simple things that have made them so effective, they just weren't doing those things.
midway through the first quarter, he took off for 36 yards, and I thought that
Yeah,
was going to be
There you
we'd see
go.
a little
Yeah.
bit more of that, Joe, like you're saying, the rest of the game, and we didn't. And Brock Purdy surely doesn't run as pretty as Jackson does, but he got it done. And yeah, I think they got away from that. I posted too, and I thought the Ravens receivers were having a little bit of case of the dropsies like they did in week 5 versus the Steelers,
yeah.
which essentially cost them that game and basically put the Steelers, they didn't know it at the time, in the playoffs, how many weeks later. But that didn't help. I mean, Zay Flowers, you know, bad game, and then the kid hits his hand off the bench and
Yeah.
slices it, and he's out. Their number one receiver. I mean, it couldn't have gone worse for the Ravens. And for a lot of Steeler fans, that's okay.
Right. Right.
Don't want to take any pleasure in anybody else's demise, but I wasn't, sitting there jumping up and down. But I mean, yeah, you would have thought, I would have thought the Ravens would have presented a much better, stronger defense, much better play out of that quarterback. I mean, the Ravens, I
Yeah.
thought, were the best team going in. I thought they were the hottest team. I thought they were going to be there, and
You know what?
that,
You know what their problem
I
was?
did
They were
too.
too good. They were
Got
too
cocky.
good. They never, except for the Steelers, who gave them a game, and I think they lost to Indianapolis too, which was like a fluky game. They basically rolled over everyone else.
including the
And they,
Detroit Lions and the 49ers.
Yeah.
exactly. And you know why? You know why they rolled over the 49ers and the Lions? Because the Lions and the 49ers have never experienced Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Steelers. That's why I
That's
said
true.
the only teams that were going to give the Ravens trouble in the playoffs are the Steelers and the Browns because they're used to him.
Yeah.
And but I mean the Chiefs are on another level, and for some reason the Ravens game plan was to not run at all, and that was your strength, one of your strengths all
Crazy.
Their
year.
Yeah.
number one rushing team in the
Really
league.
curious, yeah, really
Number one
curious.
rushing team
Well,
in
that's
the
what I
league.
was saying. They went from only running to this kind of like new balanced offense where they were passing some, they were running some. And I think it unsettled teams even teams that are familiar with the Ravens because it's not what you're used to seeing. And then all of a sudden, I understood like some of the complaints the Ravens fans had. Like, I think like all those things
Oh
can
yeah.
be true. Like some of the play calling was questionable. Do you know what I mean? There was some things that were wonky or whatever that didn't go their way. But by that same token, you can't ignore the fact that they pooped the bed. I mean, they just did. They
Yeah.
didn't execute.
Clearly some pass interference calls missed.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's screaming at the Chiefs get where Mahomes in particular gets preferential treatment, they have a little bit of a leg to stand on because it was pretty bad. But
Oh
I would
yeah.
agree with you. I don't think there was a lot that would swing it all the way. I mean, that was the Chiefs defense too. Again, I mean, he started hitting Mark Andrews there early. It looked like we might see a good tight end matchup,
Yeah.
but then they just adjusted the safety and brought the corner over, and Andrews was pretty much nullified after that. Great adjustment by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we talk about Belichick, you talk about Chuck Noll, or you talk about all these guys, and Andy Reid's got to be in that conversation. I mean,
Oh yeah.
and here's the thing: the Chiefs had every reason to kind of suck this year. 10-6, receivers are dropping balls. They had the most penalized player in the league on their right side of their line.
Yep.
I mean, it was Butker up and down a little bit, Mahomes up and down a little bit. And yet here they are. They pull it together. He goes and beats Josh Allen on the road, beats Lamar Jackson on the road. Now they're at the Super Bowl.
They did it all on the road this time. It wasn't, oh, he gets all the home games. What's he going to do? What's he going to do on the road? He kicked the butt on the road.
Right.
He did that too.
Steelers, right? The year we were talking about, they get a Super Bowl 40.
Yeah.
They had to go on the road and beat teams that nobody thought they each week. And I think, I don't care what anybody says, that fires people up. Mahomes wanted it. That fired the Steelers up. They've all talked about it. Joey Porter's talked about it. They all said how that pissed them off, and what'd they do?
I think it boosts your confidence so much as a team. You know what I mean? You're like, yes, we can do this. Nobody believes in us, and we're the underdog. And I mean, the Steelers said it back then, and I think that's a bit of what happened to Kansas City. I think people started counting them out. They looked like they self-destructed early in the season, like you said. I think people started to count them out, and they weren't willing to have that.
I remember Hines Ward. I don't know who it was. It may have been with like Ron Cook or somebody, but I remember they were interviewing him, and they're like, "Are you mad that you can't wear the blacks?" He's like, "No, we want the white jerseys. We've got here in the white jerseys. We want to play in the white jerseys." So,
yeah,
I don't get to really choose, but the Chiefs, I can see them wanting to play in the whites.
Whenever athletes say, "Oh, we don't hear the outside noise, we don't hear the trash talk or whatever," that's a complete lie. They hear all of it, and it motivates the heck out of them. How about the Lions? That idiot was waving at CJ Gardner-Johnson. He was waving in the second quarter, like they already won the game.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Don't do it, bro.
That's what's still. I know there's a lot of people that poo-poo the NFL for this, that, and the other thing, and the NFL is not perfect by any means, but it's exciting enough still that even if it's 24-7, don't count them out just yet, because that's just the way this league is built. That's the way guys step up. The coaches are good. They're smart. They make adjustments, and there you go. And here you
look at that. Yeah, you look at that game, and I think the 49ers figured out that they couldn't stop St. Brown. He was killing them the first half. They obviously made some adjustments for him, came back and shut him down. And then the Lions were the ones who were like, oh, now we don't know what else to do. Do you know what I mean? That guy Reynolds, I think is his name, that was getting targeted more because of St. Brown was dropping the ball. You know what I mean? I just think that they thought that, they had this surefire thing and this connection between the two of them. And then when he was getting double teamed, all of a sudden they were stumped.
Another thing the 49ers did, which was kind of shocking, was they're down they're down, 2-3 scores, and they're still running it in the second half. I thought you're supposed to be pass happy or whatever. It's like, well, they took away the run because we're behind. Like, we're just gonna keep running. We have the best running back on the planet. We'll just keep running.
Right, keep running.
Yeah. To me, that should be the NFL MVP. He's been my choice for NFL MVP all year, and he, proved it again. He looked great yesterday. Didn't have a huge statistical game, but he did what MVPs do. He scored and put the team on his back when he needed them to in the red zone, and here they are back in the Super Bowl again. So, yeah.
He put my fantasy football team on his back and took me to a championship. The championship game I lost in the end because I also got cocky, but still, Christian McCaffrey had an amazing year.
Yeah, he really did. And I passed on him, but Isaac Pacheco had a good year for me, and some other guys like that. And I was like you, I lost in the conference championship, and had I won, I would have wiped both teams in the championship game the next week. Isn't that the way it always goes?
I hate when that happens.
I know. But yeah, all in all, I was glad we had two pretty good games. The NFC game much better than the AFC, but here we go for a Super Bowl, and it's two good teams. I really feel like the two best teams, well, the two best teams right now got there. The 49ers are the best team pretty much all year, one or two in the top. And the Chiefs beat the Ravens, and they've been the best team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So here you go. It all
I
worked
think
out.
it's a good. I think it's a good matchup. Um, it is funny that there are so many good um there's so many good teams in the AFC. So many talented players. Josh Allen, Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I'm forgetting a whole bunch of players. So many good teams, and still it's that they basically Mahomes is Thanos. It's like I am
Yeah.
inevitable. I'm gonna now this stat blows me away. Mahomes has played 17 postseason games. So basically a full season. 17
season.
games, 14-3 record, 67% completion, 4,800 passing yards, 458 rushing yards, 39 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Basically, an MVP year. That would win MVP in any year, and he does that in the playoffs. The dude just
Against
brings
the
it
best.
against the best in the most high pressure situations when we just saw a bunch of teams fold. That is amazing.
But they can always adapt. That's the thing I admire so much about Kansas City is that they are able to adapt and adjust, throughout the playoffs, depending on what team they're playing, as well as during a game when something's not working, they find something else. Do you know what I mean? So Patrick Mahomes is able to stay poised, but their coaching adjusts and adapts. And I don't know, as a Steelers fan, we haven't seen that in a long time. So I really marvel at the teams that can make adjustments and overcome difficult defenses and win games because jet sweep.
Yeah, exactly.
Jet sweep.
Look at the
Dive
49ers.
to the middle.
They're getting
That
their
farm,
butt kicked.
feels like we've been playing run the same plays for 3 years.
Exactly.
Right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's inevitable with this too. Is you watch these teams, and if you're a fan of one sitting at home, you sit there and say, "Man, what do we need?" And we could do an entire podcast on what this team will do to get there. But that's one of them. You're right, LeeAnn. It's a good call out, and it just not creative enough, and just the adjustments kill me too.
Hopefully this new outside OC, thank God he's going to be from the outside. Hopefully he will bring some of that, because I think that's something we've been missing.
But it depends on who they get.
100%.
This choice of who they get for offensive coordinator basically determines the entire season. If they screw it up again, if they Matt Canada it up again, that's it. The season is over. They wasted an entire year last year because they kept Matt Canada. And if they get the wrong guy, we are screwed. We're big time screwed.
Arthur Smith was there. I wasn't impressed with that. That's not a guy I would put there at all. I mean, you realize he had a kind of a flash in the pan season with the Titans, and I think it was 16. That was the year where Derrick Henry went off. And Tannehill kind of probably overachieved a little bit, but
he got that comeback player of the year that year.
Yeah, and it just it was good, but I mean, it was just you see what he did in Atlanta. He hasn't done anything since he's been to Atlanta. He's just not been that great. So right now, color me unimpressed because I believe was it official that they interviewed the offensive coordinator from Carolina?
Thomas Brown or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Rumors, that was official.
Worst offensive in the league last year. What? And you can say, well, the players.
Yeah, but some of that is really ownership. I mean, there's big issues in Carolina that are hard to put on just the offensive coordinator.
And I don't buy into that. Well, he had the worst offensive team. Well, he may have, but if you really want to impress me, take that crappy team and make something of it. Carolina finished 28th overall. I think they were 20th in points per game or something. Finished in the top 15. Then I'd like to hear from him. Then I'd like you to interview him. If he took nothing, he made something out of it. But he just
My big concern about Arthur Smith is that one of the criticisms of his has been how he's squandered these high draft picks he got, in Atlanta during his 3 years, that he got these remarkable players and didn't develop them, to reach their potential. And we're talking about bringing this man in to try to shift the development of Kenny Pickett and make him a franchised quarterback. And this is somebody that couldn't work with the talent he was handed. So why is he going to work with our damaged talent and make something of it? Do you know what I mean? That's the thing about him that concerns me the most.
It's
Yeah.
frightening. It is really frightening. And I have a feeling I could just feel it. I could just feel they're gonna hire Arthur Smith. And I just have a feeling. I have a feeling by week 8, we're gonna say, what the hell were you doing? Why did you hire this guy?
Right.
Fire Arthur Smith. It's not what fire Arthur. Maybe that they'll be chanting that. I don't know. I just have a
I'm not
feeling it's gonna be a disaster.
I'm not there yet. Well, it would be a disaster if they hired him. I agree. I'm not there yet because I'll get there if they are bringing him back for a second interview. So far, it seems like it
Yeah.
was one interview, and
Yeah.
hopefully that was it. Get going. Get out of here.
Let's hope so. Yeah. I keep waiting to be really impressed with whoever they're interviewing. And so far, I've been kind of underwhelmed.
I'm hoping they wait for like one of the 49ers people, like
Yeah.
Clint, like Kubiak, something
Yeah.
like that. I would be okay with like the 49ers system. I don't care. You know, a few years ago it was what's his face, the McVay.
Mm.
Everybody that ever knew Sean McVay got a job in the NFL.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if
Yeah.
you delivered food to him, there you go. Now
Right.
you're
Right.
a head coach.
Right.
And now it's Shanahan, and that's okay because
Yeah.
really everywhere that the Shanahan people go, they find success. Look at Houston. So
Yeah.
perfectly fine picking from that tree.
Yeah, I'd like to. I think Eric Bieniemy's still out there. I'm a little surprised he hasn't been picked up yet. I mean, I think that is a guy that's been more
Yeah.
product of bad player because he can do a lot. I'd love to see Eric Bieniemy.
I thought he'd be in for an interview for sure. So I was surprised that
too.
we haven't seen his name pop up as being interviewed.
You know, that's weird. I haven't heard him interview anywhere.
No,
Mm-mm.
What's going
No.
on with that? That is very weird that nobody would even think that nobody is even considered because you hear like it's the same like 5 people interviewing at every available job, and you
Yeah.
never hear Bieniemy. I don't know what. I wouldn't mind Bieniemy. I wouldn't mind the Chiefs offense. That would mean that Fryermuth has
Yeah.
to step up. You better, dude. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I wouldn't mind the Chiefs offense.
Yeah,
No, I
no,
take that.
that's definitely kind of the next step, right? Is who's going to be the OC? We'll get past the Super Bowl here, and then and don't get me started on the Pro Bowl. I don't think you could pay me to watch that, but yeah, get past the Pro Bowl and then get past the Super Bowl, and where's that OC going to come from? I think that's what everyone's waiting for next, and you get ready for draft day. It's not too long.
Yeah. It's hard to start thinking about what really needs to happen for next year when you don't know who the offensive coordinator is going to be.
Again, agreed. That's why I think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that determines everything because what if the new OC comes in and says, I don't like this guy. I don't want this guy. I don't want this. I don't want like what are we doing with this people? You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Or he might love certain people or something like that. I don't know. So that might be determine everything in free agency, everything in the draft. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it really is a time it's still very fascinating. It is really like no off season. It's kind of like I always talk. Joe knows I'm a big racing fan. It's like NASCAR doesn't have it has a very short off season, but there's guys switching teams, guys switching, drivers switching cars. There's a lot going on, and even though you got a Super Bowl coming up and the Pro Bowl and all that jazz, and the week the Super Bowl, they said that today they had the largest number of media day requests they ever have had in history.
Wow.
So that may have something to do with Taylor Swift and the Chiefs in a good way, right? Because she's brought so much great stuff to the NFL, and
He's football.
yeah, she's brought a lot of things in there. A lot of people who didn't watch are interested. So you have all of that, but again, it's going to be. We're already January's done. This middle of this week, we're into February. Yeah. By the time the Super Bowl comes up, we're halfway through February. Then it's March, and then boom, it's draft day. April.
Comes fast.
None of us are spring chickens. We remember a time when after the Super Bowl, which by the way, the Super Bowl used to be in mid-January, not
January.
February.
Yeah.
Because now you see all those things like, so many years ago, this Super Bowl was played, and now it's like, now we're going to have a Valentine's Day Super Bowl at some point. But I remember after the Super Bowl, you didn't talk football until like the draft. There was like a 2
well,
or
the
3
players had to
period.
go work their real job. They had to go work their real job, like sell insurance or work construction or whatever the hell they did. Terry Bradshaw was selling his peanut butter. They had to
Right.
go do that stuff.
Yeah, I think Moon Mullins worked at a car dealership. There was always some
Right,
great stories
yeah.
back
They
then.
didn't pay the
Yeah.
bills with playing football back then.
Right. Jump on a college team, help out in the
Yeah.
summer. Yeah.
My dad had a sales job while he was with the Steelers. He had a sales job that he worked like part-time on the weekends and like the day they didn't have practice or whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's funny to hear him talk about that. I know Mike Webster's son has talked about that a few times.
Yeah, can you imagine now? Like, look
Yeah.
at Patrick Mahomes. I saw that house he was building
Yeah.
on the quarterback show or whatever, and I was
it's a
like, Terry
compound,
Bradshaw
yeah.
was in like an efficiency apartment back then.
Yeah, have Travis Kelce making your MTO at Sheets. Like, hey,
Yeah.
Travis, what's going on? Yeah.
Terry Bradshaw makes more a week now just
Oh,
talking
100%.
football
Yeah.
than he did playing football many years ago.
He made more doing that reality show
Oh,
where
gosh.
they filmed him and his daughters than he did making football.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. One of the Pittsburgh Pirates many years ago when I was a kid, was he was an insurance guy and he introduced himself and I was little and I said I didn't believe him. I didn't believe that he played for the Pirates. It was Bob Robertson. I was like,
Oh my gosh, I remember he was a pitcher.
he was a first base. He said he played first base and outfield. I'm like, no, that was Willie Stargell.
I'm thinking of Bob Patterson, maybe. Okay, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
hysterical.
but yeah, it's crazy now. It's absolutely crazy. By the way, I hope this isn't true. Le'Veon Bell started an OnlyFans or something like that. Bro, if you blew through that money, I'm so disappointed in you. I hope that's just I don't know what I mean I know what OnlyFans is for, but I think it's for I think people do it for other purposes too.
Let's
But
hope.
still, if you blew through that money after you went through hell and you torpedoed the one Steeler season to get more money, and if you blew through all that money, shame on you, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to those guys. I mean, between him and AB, it's just.
Oh, did you see
it seems
AB's
like-
new CTE podcast that he's coming out
Oh
with?
my God, no.
must see or must listen to, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Hey everybody, we're gonna slice open my brain. Here we go.
Right.
That is one of the sad things it sounds like, and it happens a lot where we talk about, these athletes make a lot more money, they make millions of dollars, and they blow through it because they think it's like unlimited amounts, and that's sad. You put yourself through all that, you kind of hit the lottery and you make all that money and then you blow it. That just is sad.
Yeah, no, for sure. A lot of stories on that, and I mean, I think Dave Dorson a lot. I don't know why, because I love the Bears and what happened to him, and Dave Dorson and Mike Webster probably a lot because it's just so close to home. And I remember Terry Bradshaw getting emotional about that, realizing that the guy was laying on park benches and just not knowing who he was and how just awful that was. I mean, and he was a tank, but you see his son. His son's like, what? I'm trying. He's got to be at least 6'9". His son is a big kid. He's always.
Well, that's funny because Mike Webster wasn't that big.
Yeah, well, he was big. He's bigger. He was bigger than Webby.
Wow.
And but he never got into it because I think he saw what his dad went through. I've never heard him really say that, but just really something else with what they've all gone through. And now you see their helmets, and it seems to be different, but still, I wouldn't. I think AB. Part of AB is AB being AB, but you can't deny he took a lot of hits going across the middle. We all remember the Bengals game, and it takes a toll. You can't not be in constant car accidents like that and not have to take a toll.
Yeah.
Sad.
They're trying to hopefully, because if they don't figure out, then that's the end of football as we know it. So they better figure this out. They're trying to be better. Before it was when somebody got like a concussion, they were like, you got your bell rung, get back out there. Now they're about it. So we'll see. I
think if the NFL really wants to fix it, though, they have to come up with some kind of method whereas the defense can play defense and still tackle people. Do you know what I mean? It can't just be, well, we're going to let the guy catch. He's going to get the yardage anyways. Either he's going to catch the ball or he's going to get the penalty. Do you know what I mean? Because you touch him. So I think they got to find a way to balance that out somehow so that defenses can still do their jobs. Do you know what I mean? And while the offensive players are protected.
Yeah, because no matter which way you slice it, and I guess I don't know how you want to look at it, but from beginning of time, people love the violence. Going back to the Roman Colosseum, you
Yep.
can. I think it's too generalized to say, well, everyone just goes to to races to see Rex. No, there's a lot of gearheads that love the science about it. I'm one of them, but yeah, it's pretty cool to see some of those big Rex, man.
Well,
And but
yeah,
hockey, football, the violence, we like it. And to LeeAnn's point, I think if you ever took that away, if it ever did go flag football, I think that would be the only thing that would actually kill the NFL.
Right.
We would have it would take so much time for there to be so much involvement in it. But yeah, we had a kid here in PA die this year. Jersey Shore High School, young man died. We still have that kid from Garden City that's struggling to regain his life. So there is that aspect of it's sad.
And it's sad that basically, it's ridiculous that the defensive players aren't allowed to. You're not allowed to touch the quarterback, even though I love that. I don't know. I guess the refs expect when you're running 100 miles an hour, somebody you're supposed to stop in midair, like you're in the Matrix or something like that, and not touch the quarterback. Like, do you not understand how momentum works, how physics works? But
then you're going to allow the fake slide. You know what I mean? Like you're going to allow that to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like you have things like that. So I understand that the NFL wants this to be this high scoring thing and all that, but truly it's not fun for anybody if all you do is sit and watch people score. You want to see defense, you want the challenge, you want to see your team overcome that and be able to win a game. And so I think they have to find a way to balance it.
But the other sad thing is, so they're basically like, no headshots. Don't you dare do a headshot. If you do a headshot, you're kicked out immediately. So then defensive players are like, okay, so take out their knees.
Right.
You see that a lot. You see them like go right for the legs. It's like,
ask Nick Chubb about that. Ask Nick Chubb about that. And Joe and I were talking about memorable moments from this year, LeeAnn. I think was it last week or week before, Joe, and I kind of thought, the compassion that Steeler fans showed Nick Chubb when he got hurt that night. It's quiet. People were really hoping
but
I'm not sure he's ever coming back.
A lot of Browns fans say that Mika did that on purpose and he's dirty. Like, come on.
Like if anybody, not Minka. Come on.
Exactly.
You can make that argument for a lot of players, but not Minka.
No, not Minka. No.
Yeah. Art Rooney II talked today. It's funny we have an owner that doesn't talk. Jerry Jones has a press conference every week. And Art Rooney II talks like 2 or 3 times a year. So when he talks, it's really important. But I thought it was really interesting that they basically asked him about the offensive coordinator. He said, well, that's Mike's thing. Mike picks the offensive coordinators. Like, really? Did that change? Because I think a lot of times in his tenure, Tomlin was told what kind of coordinators he was supposed to have. So yeah,
I swear I think sometimes he just says stuff so that people will stop asking, because what is your rebuttal to that? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. Do you know what I mean? I can't ask you anything further because you said it's not your call. You know what I mean? So I swear I think sometimes that Rooney's just says like whatever to get you to change the topic because he's not going to tell you anything.
I think there's some truth to that, but I think part of that truth, though, is that I still feel this way just from the things you see, what Joe just said about how often you hear from him. I think Dan was much more involved than Art is. And Dan could have fielded a question to that, like Jerry Jones. He's not afraid to field the questions because of how involved he is day to day, and maybe just too involved. But I do wish like Art was a little bit more like Dan and a little bit more involved, because I just feel that when Dan was involved, things were done right, done a little bit better internally with player, but also done with coaches as well.
Yeah. I mean, people say, it's a results driven business, and they crap on Tomlin for not getting the results. It's like, well, Rooney hasn't really got the results either. So
they all have a part to play.
He said today We've had on the urgency to win in the playoffs. We've had enough of this. It's time to get some wins. It's time to take these next steps. There is some urgency there for sure, and it sounds like he is. And it sounds like that's the theme of this offseason is we're willing to do other things. We're willing to change our philosophy, the way we've done things, because what we've been doing doesn't work. So we'll see.
If that's
We'll
true, I have so much appreciation and applause for that. Do you know what I mean? I am all about the Steeler way of doing things. I appreciate our tradition and that we stand by our men and all of that. But we also have to modernize what we're doing to some degree and recognize the way the NFL has changed and come along with it so we can win. So I hope that's true and we do find some balance.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, there's not a lot you could take out of this season. I still say going 5-1 in the best conference or best division in football was pretty impressive. Either way you slice it, no matter whether it's Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph at the helm. But yeah, I mean, there is some things, and I guess I too. I've said this before. I know it's not the popular opinion, but I would like to see Kenny Pickett be given a chance with a little bit more stability in the coaching ranks, a decent offensive line, because I think you're just writing him off a little bit too early.
We only saw the kid play one game without Matt Canada. One game.
Right. There are a lot of things he didn't do as well. I would like to see him personally improve upon. He's not escaped from this at all. But there's just so much, and there's so much this offseason that they got to do. I don't care at this point, Joe and LeeAnn, even if this year is like kind of a slight rebuild, I'll be okay with that. But come that next season, it needs to be in full gear. This year they failed on what I said they needed to do. They didn't win a playoff game or two. So to me, it was kind of a failed season, even though it was 10-7 and made the playoffs. There's a lot to do. And
every time I say 10-7, though, I think about those games that we won, and so many of them were like those late minute comebacks. You know what I mean? Yep. And look, I get that a win is a win and that's all that matters. But there were so many of those wins that felt almost like a loss because the game was so poorly executed. We got things together to get this win at the end of the game or whatever it was. It doesn't feel like they were like 10 solid wins.
Yeah, and it's not being pessimistic. I think that's realistic. It's realistic pessimism because, look, the defense bailed us out in that first Browns game week 2.
The defense, that game against Cleveland, the defense won that game.
Yes.
100%. You can't say they did.
Well, the defense...
2 scores.
The defense won so many games. It was like it's a miracle that this team won 10 games. It is.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy when you think about it. It feels like a 5-win season or something.
Yeah, I was glad that Terrell Austin got the extension. He deserved it. I'm glad to see him coming back. But now you need to work on the offensive side of things, and there's some holes you need to patch up on defense too.
Right. The defensive line, the cornerbacks, the safety, the
linebacker.
Happened with inside linebackers. All of them are near dead. Who knows if any of them are going to come back? Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I wonder if they're going to bring back Pat Pete. I wonder. It's like, well, just make him a safety. Like, really? That's you're already
a big fan.
Dollars on Inca who didn't do a damn thing.
Have Pat Firebeam start dating Dua Lipa.
See, I don't know who the other like popular singers are. Yeah, Dua Lipa. I wouldn't. Yeah, we could. we could handle that. Seeing
somebody.
Christina Aguilera. She's still a thing. She's from Pittsburgh.
I don't know. She's only like 45 now, right?
Here's the deal. We talked a little bit about this when we joined together. I said this earlier. Got some legs. Stop pissing all over Taylor Swift. I've had it with it. It's not her choice that they put her on camera. That's the producer's choice from CBS, Fox, Amazon Prime, whoever, ABC. Leave her alone.
Is Beyonce married?
Beyonce, I have no idea.
Beyonce is married. Okay, so she's
married to somebody.
Miley Cyrus. Here we go. Somebody could date Miley Cyrus.
She's super cute.
The whole Taylor Swift thing, guy. What is your problem? It's come on. It's not like they show her that often. She doesn't even want to be shown.
What did Darren say? It's like 31 seconds or something. I mean, come on.
Well, going into the playoffs, it was 25 and a half.
Right.
Playoff games is a little bit longer, or not longer game, but longer exposure, 36 seconds. So for 25 or 36 seconds of your life, you're that pissed off, you're that angry with your life. I mean, I feel really sorry.
It's political. It's because
Let's
they
talk
don't like
about
her
how much Chris
politics.
Collingsworth we have to look about and get angry about that again
Seriously.
and leave
Because
her
he owns
alone.
Pro Football
Seriously.
Focus. He owns Pro
Right.
Football Focus, and then God knows if Pro Football Focus puts out a grade, oh my God, well, that's it. I have some news for you. Pro Football Focus is just so far, they do some things very well, but a lot of it is so slanted and not take a look at everything in totality that it's not as great as you think it is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
It's
not.
just so funny
Well,
that
the
they're
problem
supposed
you
to be
have-
based on analytics and numbers, and they're so biased, especially against the Steelers. It is laughable.
Yep. I don't care. I mean, I love the story that there's a lot of young ladies and young guys who have never watched a damn game of the NFL in their life. And because of her, they've been watching some games. So
Yeah.
what? So now you can sit down on the couch when you couldn't with your daughter and watch a football game and she enjoys it. You're going to complain about that? If that's as much as your life's come to, I'm sorry. Maybe you need to get help. It's Taylor Swift. She's having fun. It's okay to have fun.
Who cares?
And she's the biggest pop star in the world. It's just like we were talking about. Remember Cyndi Lauper in the 80s? Every time you turned the TV on, she was somewhere. WrestleMania, Pepsi commercial, the Goonies, arm wrestling contest, the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Cyndi Lauper was everywhere. She may even sing beside your couch sometime in 1985. She was everywhere. That's the way pop goes.
Do you remember last year? Last year, the big story was, oh, Mama Kelsey. She has one son on the team and one son on the other. So they showed Mama Kelsey all the time. Well, did she ruin football? Did Mama Kelsey, did showing Mama Kelsey every couple minutes, did that ruin anything? No.
But I said it's the same thing like when you watch the Lakers games and they show Jack Nicholson on the sidelines like 52 times in his courtside seat. Nobody's screaming about how he's ruined pro basketball. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a slanted argument.
I told LeeAnn in Pittsburgh for a while. Remember, for whatever reason, part of the cable package, we had WGR, and you get the Rangers and the Knicks games. Same thing. You'd see Matt LeBlanc was a huge Rangers fan. Half the guys from The Sopranos were there, and they'd find them every single night. Nobody was complaining. Kurt Warner's wife is another one. Remember, for whatever reason, they showed Kurt Warner's wife all the time because she had a shaved head.
Because she looked like his mom.
Yeah, right. I mean, so it's just like you people.
They showed Eminem a whole bunch of times last week when he was in Detroit. That didn't ruin anything,
right?
Although this week he was flipping off people, which was pretty funny.
Kansas City Chiefs are a team that have won a lot lately, obviously. So guess what? They get more primetime playing. It's not like you're going to see a lot of the Arizona Cardinals games and whoever they players may date or not date. I don't know. And even if they did, I wouldn't care because it's like, oh yeah, there's Taylor Swift. She's having a good time. She's happy.
The reality is every other NFL player's girlfriend and spouse put together does not equal the celebrity status that Taylor Swift has on her own. She eclipses everybody else in celebrity. So just because you're not a fan or because you don't understand her, you don't like her, you don't appreciate what she's doing, doesn't mean that you're going to hate on her. And it doesn't mean that she's done anything personally wrong.
Right. If she was dating like Chase Elliott, she'd be huge in NASCAR. If she was dating Sidney Crosby, or if she was dating, something like
Bryce Harper or somebody. I mean, it's just
or whoever, Carmelo Anthony. I mean, whatever.
Right.
I mean, no matter where it would be a story because she is this generation's Madonna, Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper, Whitney Houston, however you want to put that. That's who she is right now.
Yeah.
And until her star starts to fade, and they all fade away generally, sometimes quicker than others. Appreciate what it is now. This is the generation that you're in.
And she's not seeking it. She's not, she's not making it all about her. When the cameras are on her, she's like, get away from me.
To the Ravens fan that yelled at her yesterday, you're ruining football, you're a
despicable.
Yeah.
You're a despicable jackal.
Well, I mean, all Ravens fans are jackasses. But
she was not ruining football. You're ruining football with that outlook on life.
And even some other, right before that, some other fans said, like, you helped them. And Taylor's like, I didn't do anything.
Right. Like, come on. Yeah, it's the whole thing is bad. It's bad.
I'm more concerned about the broadcast because it's on CBS and it's going to be Jim Nantz and Tony Romo.
Yes, it
Tony
is.
Romo is getting on my nerves.
Oh my God, what
Greg
happened to him in
Olson.
this weekend's game? Oh my
And
God.
Greg Olson and oh my
Oh,
gosh, I'm
ugh.
gonna forget the other guy's name. They did such a better job on Fox yesterday.
I
Greg
feel so
Olson
bad for
does
Greg
a great
Olson
job.
because they're going to push him aside because Tom Brady wants to be a broadcaster now.
Oh yeah, he's
Olson
getting
does a
kicked to the
job,
curb.
and there's like,
Well,
get out of here.
if he does a half decent job, I guess I have to. Did I like Tom Brady as a player? No, but I guess you got to give everybody a shot. But
Somebody said this, and I think it would be an amazing idea because Bill Belichick is probably not going to get a coaching job.
Which is crazy to me.
You know
Crazy to
what?
me.
It makes a lot of sense, though. Yeah, I think it's like why would you not want him? Well, because for one thing, he's kind of sucked without Brady, and for another thing, he wants total control.
He
Right.
does want total control.
And
And he's
he
71.
he's so old school. All this analytics we're talking about with Dan Campbell, Belichick hates that stuff. So you're gonna you're gonna say we're new school, we're doing modern. It's like, and then this guy comes along and says, I don't want those analytics. Like you're just total. So I kind of get that
I
because
get that.
but I would love him and Nick Saban doing like the Manning cast. Could you imagine just watching a game with Bill Belichick? Because Bill Belichick, as curmudgeon as he was on those press conferences, he is actually a wonderful dude to talk to about football. He would be
very smart
in the studio or something like that. That guy is like basically the smartest football guy there is. That would be an amazing thing if they wherever he goes, wherever he does, if he just has a studio job or whatever talking about football, that would be amazing because
I'd watch it.
He's amazing. All right. Well,
Super Bowl predictions.
Oh, Chiefs.
Chiefs.
I am never betting against Patrick Mahomes ever again.
So you're both going Chiefs. Does that mean I have to go with the 49ers? I don't know. You're right about Mahomes.
I just can't even speak the 49ers getting another Super Bowl into existence. I don't care if they were playing
it's been almost 30 years since they won. That's shocking.
Yeah, it is shocking. They were bad for a long time.
They were.
But you're right. Mahomes is kind of like Michael Jordan right now, or Tyson, or however you want to put it, or Brady. It's just he's on that level.
You just can't bet against him. I mean,
I didn't think we'd
catching like they are now.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd see a quarterback that would come close to eclipsing Tom Brady. Like,
I know, and there's one that came right after him. That's crazy.
And right there alongside him, here he is. I mean, it's unreal how good he is, and how good that team is as a unit. And
this is the worst possible Chiefs team of like the last 6, and they made the Super Bowl, and they beat 2 really good teams to go there
to do it.
Basically, Mahomes and Kelsey just put the team on their back. Now they did do it with defense too. Their defense is very good, but still, yeah, I can't. And I hate saying this, and I'm just gonna stick to my guns. But I think Brock Purdy is a fraud. I don't think he is an actually good quarterback. And I know he's an MVP candidate, and I know he had a good year, but I think he is just a product of the system, and he's surrounded by awesome talent, and that's why he's good.
I listened to Trey Essex's podcast the other day, and he went through every quarterback in the NFL. And if you took that quarterback out of their team and plugged him into this system, do you know what I mean? Instead of Brock Purdy, could they do what Brock Purdy had done? And with the exception of like a handful of very bad quarterbacks, I mean, he felt like all of them could do this, that the talent is not necessarily Brock Purdy, it's the system. Even Kenny Pickett. Not Mitch
Trubisky. No.
Not
Mitch Trubisky. No, sorry, Mitch.
Mitch Trubisky was basically Jimmy G when he was with the 49ers. That was basically you knew Jimmy G every time he took the ball. It's like, oh, here comes the interception. It's coming.
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
I told somebody yesterday, stop saying his name. You say it 3 times in a row and he's going to show up back in Pittsburgh. So just stop saying his name.
Yeah.
I'll just say it twice. Trubisky. Yeah. I'll see. All right, guys. Hey, thanks so much. This was awesome.
All right.
I'll talk to you again.
See you guys.
Bye.